Peace. The answer to the part 1 pop quiz question is the artist is Uncle Kracker. The group is with attitude. Though there's a reason that the group is more widely known and referred to by their acronym, NWA, while to the contrary, in the mainstream, Uncle Kracker is simply known as Uncle Kracker. Because there's no genuine one-to-one comparison between cracker and the N-word. Not etymologically, not historically, not socially, not sincerely. The term cracker is an old Anglo-Saxon word that's been around.
You can't hate the default. That doesn't make sense. No, default implies power. So it doesn't matter if there's any sort of like negativity associated with it. And in many instances, the negativity towards the normative position or the default is criticism towards power. So it's not about criticism towards you specifically, okay? But yes, when you shit on power, it's like saying fuck billionaires. You can't oppress the default on the basis of that default. Exactly. This is a concept that we've talked about so many times. I feel like it's very hard for people to just like hear what I'm saying. Like people just shut off, and I'm trying to be as charitable as possible, right? Hear my words, but you don't listen to what I'm saying.
Around for centuries, published as early as the 1500s in the work of Shakespeare. Its original meaning was one who brags, a bloviator. In today's terms, a capper. Ethnocentrism among the English applied the term cracker to the Scots-Irish people to smear them as raucous and lawless. That stereotype and label would follow the Scots-Irish people to the New World, the Americas, where they took on many manual labor jobs, including drovers,
which, by the way, whiteness from the American perspective, like from the American understanding of whiteness, the Scots-Irish were considered non-white, not a part of the default in-group. They were not white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, which is why when cracker applied to them as a negative slur, it was applied to them on the basis of them not being, I guess, quote-unquote, white. When Italians were oppressed in this country, they were not considered white. When the Irish were oppressed in this country, or in the second iteration of the word cracker, when he's describing the etymology of it, they were not white. And when I say white, I mean, we all know that these people had white skin. It's not like these people aren't white, right? And these people are certainly now considered white. But that concept has expanded, okay? It has expanded throughout time to welcome other groups that were originally oppressed on the virtue of not being white to now be white. Notice how none of these people were discriminated against on the basis of being white and white alone, in the same way that a black person or a brown person can be discriminated against. That's because whiteness in this regard has very little to do with the color of your skin, unless we're talking about the color of your skin being black, okay? Because if there's one group of people who will never be considered white, it's black people. That's why Barack Obama is not another white president, despite being half white, but considered the first black president. The reason why I have to, I guess, consistently repeat myself on the subject is that it's also a hyper-Americentric conversation to have, because in other countries, there's slurs and pejoratives and arguments that happen and occur on the basis of religious backgrounds, religious sectarianism, ethnocentrism, but rarely ever on the same white versus non-white boundaries that you constantly talk about in the United States of America. It's very interesting. That's why a lot of Europeans will look to this situation and go, what the fuck? Why? They'll say, why are Americans so obsessed with race? Now, of course, this does not mean that there isn't anti-black racism in European countries. Of course there are. But the never-ending argument, the never-ending back and forth between whiteness, what that means, white people, black people, is a profoundly American conversation to have.
Americas, where they took on many manual labor jobs, including drovers, which introduces another connotation to the term cracker as whip cracker, which transfers over to the context of slavery with Scots-Irish participation as slave foremen who cracked the whip. In time, the Scots-Irish people would embrace the term cracker as a thing of pride. Although to northern and affluent whites, the term cracker was a classist smear, the southern crackers themselves embraced the term as a sign of their working class grit. There's even a book about it called Cracker Culture that reveals something that you might find
That's why people in Florida also call themselves the Florida Crackers too.
surprising. While all poor southern whites were considered crackers, not all crackers were white. That's right. Before the Atlanta Braves, there was the Atlanta Crackers, and alongside the Atlanta Crackers were the Atlanta Black Crackers. And you might argue that was then and this is now. Well, as of now, there's still a Cracker Trail Elementary School in Florida, a school that honors the Cracker Trail landmark in Florida. There's the Cracker Roadshow that again celebrates cracker culture. There's a reason you will not find in this day and age an N-word Trail Elementary School, because the N-word and cracker are not the same. That said, yes.
Well, there is a N-word head ranch though, and everybody understands how fucking profoundly racist that is, because there's no terminology that is like positive. There's no positive association with the N-word in that regard.
Context and connotation can turn even the most benign term into a racial insult. For example, white supremacist appropriation of the word Monday as interchangeable with the N-word. No one would argue that Monday, in and of itself, is racist. It depends on the context of use. Even the mouth-breathing, knuckle-dragging racist, who blew a gasket at my Andy Griffith post and went on a racist tirade. When he came back and posted an unapologetic video, he used the term cracker in his video. At no point in time did he repeat any of the anti-black slurs that he previously had.
Like, that guy's a Nazi, and even he uses the term cracker, but now LSF and like Redditors on specific subreddits have decided to be logically consistent and start saying that like cracker is such a slur, it's such a serious slur, that like they started censoring it, which is hilarious. Okay? You are trying to be more fragile about a white identity that you do not understand than a fucking Nazi, the ultimate white identitarian. Like, Nazis are at the literal last, the final boss of white identity. Okay? Straight up. So it's crazy to like turn around and try to censor the word cracker specifically so that you can, get an argument in edgewise. It's a very silly situation. But words are defined socially, and maybe in the future, if there's enough white fragility, people could potentially genuinely create a movement surrounding the censorship of the word cracker. It's laughable. It's hilarious. Okay? But the historical association with the word, the etymology of the word, and the difference of said word or words that pertain to white people will never change because those things already happened. Okay?
In the video that he deleted, because even he knows the two are not the same. But I know that nothing that I've said in this video is going to ever satisfy some of you. And quite frankly, I'm good with that. How good? This good.
Good cracker.
We out ya.
Anyway. So yeah. When the goblins go to larger, more popular subreddits and try to spread this message, they get laughed at and told to fuck off, so they return to LSF and adjacent subreddits. Yeah. It's scary. The reason why I consider this to be genuinely threatening and scary is because it's a gateway, an entry point into white identitarian politics. And when you start doing white identitarian politics, you start opening up the door to more white identitarian politics, like the guy that we were talking about here, Nazis. In 2016, or even before that, in the Gamergate era, one of the things that Richard Spencer and the like often utilized was white identitarian politics. This is not a new concept. Historically speaking, white power came after black power. The Klan and other adjacent nationalist fascist movements saw Black Power and decided to basically market what they were doing in a similar vein. Now, of course, this works well for some people who are either otherwise well-intentioned and don't fully understand it. Play the video? What video? I already played the video. Yeah, All Lives Matter and Thin Blue Line came after Black Lives Matter. We now know and understand that All Lives Matter on its face sounds totally normal, innocuous even. White Lives Matter is the more racist, more transparently racist. No, there is no 30 seconds left. I went back in the video. Anyway. If you check the history of who makes the comments, you've got a 50% chance of finding an out-about race realist. They don't even hide it, and gullible-ass libs just eat it up hook, line, and sinker. Yes. Exactly. A lot of people that are permanently online, extremely online, love to use this as an opportunity to spear dick their narrative. They're much, much worse and much scarier ideas into the fold, into the conversation, as they present it as someone who is simply interested in, stopping people from being mean to one another, stopping people from being racist to one another. Maybe there are some people who also are extremely online who get caught up in that narrative and get caught up in that argument with good intentions without realizing it.